Amanda Seales leaves the real, and I feel some kind of way personally. We needed her, and this was a big L for the community. Want to talk about it? Here you go. Nessa girl, so every now and again there's a story that comes across my desk that I may not speak on in a timely fashion, but I speak on it because it rings true and relevant to my personal life. In the wake of Trina and her calling the looters animals down here in Miami on WEDR 99 Jams, there's been a lot of conversation about there being a need for a voice of reason, someone with a deeper intellect and a better understanding of social and political issues on 99 Jams. That then made me think about this situation with Amanda Seales leaving the real voluntarily, and it brought me to chorus. I think that Amanda Seales leaving the real is a huge L for our community, and I also feel that Amanda in a sense did us a disservice. Now, not to be confused with or misconstrued with me being upset with Amanda. I will never be upset with anybody doing what they feel they have to do in the best interest of their lives. But I feel like as a whole, the culture lost because this sister left such a huge platform, especially during times like this where her sentiments are needed. Let me read you a quote from Amanda Seales on her reason for leaving, and then we can dissect it and jump down in it. So, Amanda says, I've arrived because my contract is up at the Real, and I did not want to renew it because it doesn't feel good to my soul to be at a place where I cannot speak to my people the way they need to be spoken to, and where the people who are speaking to me in disparaging ways are not being handled. She went on to say, I'm not in a space where I can, as a full black woman, have my voice, and my co-workers also have their voices, and where the people at the top are not respecting the necessity for black voices to be at the top too. She added that she just can't function at a place the same way. You know, I've got a lot of conflicting emotions, right? And I've got a lot of, I don't know, thoughts that compete with one another. The first and the foremost, my immediate response when I read Amanda's thing and I watched her express her opinion is that, oh girl, couldn't see the forest from the trees, right? And I was like, Amanda, this is bigger than you being comfortable. This is bigger than you having, you know, a super comfortable workplace. And this is bigger than you wanting the workplace to look the way it is you want it to look, right? Like, you got to do this for the culture. We need you. We need you. And then that was my first response. Then I had to step back and say, well, wait a minute, Q. It's not one person's responsibility to carry the culture, right? It's not. And from a human perspective, if that girl was uncomfortable at work, then she does have the right to walk away. However, Amanda Seales can be problematic at times and radical, very radical, more radical for the average person's comfort. And I'm curious to know if Amanda walked up there in them people's shit and was scrutinizing every single thing, and because it did not look the way she wanted it to look and it didn't feel the way she wanted it to feel from a management perspective, that she chose to chuck the deuces. Not understanding that, okay, these people's stuff was established long before you got there, and it's going to take some time to unravel some of that establishment and reshuffle some of the players. You know, these executives and these people, producers and stuff, worked there before you got there. So just because you got there doesn't necessarily mean that all of a sudden it's supposed to be shuffled and it's supposed to look the way we ideally as black people would want it to look, right? Again, not being able to see the forest for the trees. It's disappointing for the culture because we don't have many people who aren't as outspoken on behalf of black people on platforms that large during a time as critical as the time we are in now. This being an election year, this being the year of social media with so much misinformation being disseminated, we need a strong voice like Amanda Seales who can see through the bullshit and stay on task when it comes to what's important to black people. See, a lot of times we get a lot of these people in these CNN positions and a lot of these commentary positions where they start out with, speaking the black agenda, and then somehow or another it gets convoluted with all these other things, and let's call on our Hispanic brothers and sisters, so on and so forth, and then now we lose focus. One thing that I think I loved about Amanda, but it also helps and hurts her at times, is she is laser focused on black people. And in this instance, I hope not so laser focused that she did us a disservice in an effort to provide herself with some self-care. Again, I could never advocate for somebody being at a job that they don't like and that they're uncomfortable with, right? But there was a quote that I took from Scandal when Fitz was talking about wanting to be with Olivia and live the dream and promote and be happy. And Cyrus told him, some men aren't meant to be happy. Some men are meant to be great. And in that, I wish Amanda, and this is me personally, and this is my own selfishness, I wish Amanda could have sucked up whatever it was she was experiencing and feeling. I wish she could have sucked it up at least through this election cycle. And that may be a lot to ask, because keeping it real, I don't know that somebody, especially after being self-employed for this long, could ask me or pay me enough to sit in a situation where I'm uncomfortable. And if that sister was truly uncomfortable, then hats off to her for doing what it is she did. And quite frankly, a lot of people would not have done what she did in the name of integrity and beliefs. You know what I'm saying? That is a huge platform. You see how hurt Tamar was when she had to leave it. I'm sure it paid her well, or decent. And it was big. It's just unfortunate because with us having such a lack of Amanda Seales type intellects in that daytime talk space, we finally get one and she walks. Yes, she walked. It's to be determined, but I hope her walking did not necessarily close the door for the next Amanda Seales type intellect to come along. I think the first step is recognizing that there is a need. The fact that somebody even hired Amanda Seales over at The Real spoke to the fact that there was a need for her. The fact that she left because she was uncomfortable being there is even more evidence of there being a need of an Amanda Seales type personality. But what I am gathering from Amanda's sentiments is that there is an even greater need for an Amanda Seales type personality at the very top. And then that blackness, that cultural sensitivity will filter its way down into production, on-screen talent, and everybody else. It's a huge L. It also brings up a lot of times when it comes to expressing blackness and the way we express ourselves, white people were at the center of that, right? I went through this thing personally where there were some white people that I worked with at my first job when I moved to Atlanta that I really liked, right? I love them. They're great people, And I was very hesitant about what articles I would share on my Facebook page because I am friends with a lot of these people on Facebook. And then I had an aha moment and said, wait a minute, Quentin, why should your expression be centered around their comfortability? they don't worry about me being comfortable in their lack of expression about what's going on in America right now, because none of them have said anything. So why should I be so concerned about ruffling their feathers or making them feel a way or alienating them by speaking out on the injustices that my people are going through and exposing the crimes that their people are committing? And I think as black people in this country, so many times we get indoctrinated and taught that we can do whatever it is we need to do just as long as we don't upset the white people. And I was like, wow. And when you think about it, everything we have to do, turn your music down, don't speak this way, wear this type of clothing, don't say this type of thing, don't bring this up when you're around this group of people. And I know the answer. They don't extend the same courtesy to us. They have the liberty to talk about any and every facet of their lives without worrying about if it makes their black counterparts uncomfortable. And from that moment on, I've decided I'm no longer doing that. Like, I am no longer going to hesitate about clicking a share button on my social media because I'm worried that it's going to make my white friends feel the way. I figure if we really are friends, then maybe it'll prompt us to have a conversation and foster some understanding and to stop centering the way I move around the feelings of white people. And y'all, that was very huge, because as outspoken as I am and as smart as I claim to be and as, steeped in some of these issues that I like to think I am, I did not realize until that very moment that that was a subconscious issue that was plaguing me. And I told y'all all of that to say what? Palatability. I was having a conversation with myself about the palatability of the real. And Amanda was talking about, she wasn't in a space where she could feel like she could talk to her people the way she needed to talk to them in the language in which they needed to speak about. And I'm conflicted in a sense, because while that is necessary, there must be balance, right? Number one, there's a spectrum of women up there. And yes, y'all can have y'all opinions, but everybody's got a voice. Everybody across the table's got to be comfortable. And at the very end of the day, this is a daytime talk show. It may be geared towards minorities, but it is also designed to reach the broadest spectrum of that minority group. So it could not turn into the black people show, unfortunately. But I do think that there was a way that it could have been done. I mean, hell, it was being done as far as I was concerned, but we don't know what hell Amanda Seals was catching in the background. Like I said, she did 6 months. I wish she would have did 6 more, a year more, just to get us through this election cycle, because ain't no telling who we gonna get next. And since Amanda did come in and shake up the table, they now know what safeguards to put in place, or what kind of personality they can get in there, one that they can quiet, that's going to be black like this and not like this, the kind of black that they like, the kind of black that's palatable. And unfortunately, with this Tamar situation has showed us that we can't really depend on Lonnie Love in the foreground or the background to be that sister girl type. And no disrespect to Tamara Housley, but she serves two masters. You know what I'm saying? I'm not sure if Tamara is biracial, but she's in an interracial relationship, and her children are most definitely biracial, leaving her in a situation where she serves two masters, so she can only go but so far on issues on either side of the spectrum. It definitely was a loss. I wish we could get her back, and I don't know who else out there who has the visibility and the brains to do what it is she was doing in that slide. Y'all drop down in the comments and let's throw some suggestions out there. That's all I got. I ain't got no more. Finna get in here and get some lunch and then watch these Real Housewives of LA. I mean, shit, Married to Madison, LA. And I'll call y'all back. Bam!